let's probably segue into something else. And this would probably be on that concept of one thing that I've also found I struggle with when I got myself in this journey of personal development was, in a sense, where you find I'm split in sort of two worlds. There's the future I want, which is going to be based on what I'm doing now. And there's a past that I have left, which probably I find myself looking to the past, trying to understand the present, and also caught up with or finding myself sort of stuck in the future and not being in the here and now, and not being grounded in the present, and also not enjoying life as it is, always sort of either blaming myself because we have all these expectations. Probably if you found yourself you never followed through on something fully, so you didn't do that fitness task that you wanted to do. You found yourself, probably if you're into dieting, you found yourself falling for those sweet snacks, all this kind of stuff. Maybe it's a bad habit you're trying to avoid. You found yourself, sort of backsliding and falling for the same. How do I ensure that as much as I'm looking to the future and not stuck in the past, and these are two worlds that actually don't exist. If you think about it, all that exists is the here and now. This is
right.
Anything. The future is a ghost we are probably trying to
Absolutely
pursue. So how do you ensure that you're not caught up in these two worlds? As much as the future is good and what you're doing now creates the future you want, and you can learn from the past. How do you ensure that we are grounded in the present as we go through this journey of personal development?
Wow. You have said so many very important things. Handling the past, dealing with the fact that in the quest for self-improvement, or self-improvement rather, there are failures, there are missteps, there can be short and extended periods of quitting and picking it up again. There can be periods in which you fall, like you mentioned, into bad habits, which we all have one. Things that you naturally find are your area of weakness. We all just have those spots, right? You met somebody whose problem is just the cigarette, somebody whose problem is just alcohol, somebody whose problem is just pornography, and everybody is strong in some, like one doesn't seem to bother them, then they just have this one that is like that thorn in your flesh, that thing that always seems to, when you feel like you're soaring, then it plunges you right down into that dark place and you start now struggling again to see the light. So how are you processing the past, those failures, and then the current moment in which you are actually supposed to develop yourself and versus the future that you're trying to create? That's a very difficult thing to balance. But I like that you already alluded to this, that the moment in which we actually live is the now, is the present, where we actually are present, where we can make a change, where we can fix what had gone wrong, whether we were responsible for it going wrong or someone else was. The only place where we can do that is now. And if we worry about the future, the only thing that we can do to affect the future, which is always approaching and never really here, is the now, here and now, the present moment, today. That's all we got to make some changes. So how can you, make sure then that you are, I guess the question really comes down to how do you make sure that you are living fully in the moment, in the present, and not beating yourself over the failures of yesterday, not worrying too much about the cares of tomorrow that you are not actually doing something about it. How can you do that and live now, here, present? So the first thing I would suggest, the first thing that I would say makes sense and works for me, and maybe not always, but I know that when I apply it, it works. It works every time I apply it. First of all, is that you need to have a certain degree of compassion for yourself, in a way. And we all need a great deal of self-forgiveness, if I can call it. Because the interesting thing about us human beings is that we know how great we can be if we apply ourselves fully. Like, we know that. But then we also have to contend with those weaknesses we have, which in our minds we think that we can easily overcome, but always don't really overcome. And so they bring us down, and then we really beat ourselves over it because we know we could have avoided it or overcome it. But the reality is, you have to admit, like, I sometimes tell myself that, Kizito, you are incredibly strong. You are wonderfully made. You are powerful. You are marvelous. But here's the truth as well. You are also incredibly weak. You are incredibly pathetic when it comes to certain things. And you would soil and rub yourself in the mud sometimes. And all of this is you. Like, there is no you without that part. It's the combination of your darkness and your light somehow. And could lightness defeat the darkness? It will, hopefully, probably, definitely. But are you going to pretend that there is not that side? And are you going to say that each time you fall into that side, then you are not yourself, really? No, is that, for me, the idea has been, I have committed, let's just stick to the example I gave earlier, to the routine of exercise and fitness and everything. Are there days that I would just not want to do it? Completely not want to do it? Yes, absolutely. I have my own weaknesses, things that I want to stay off from all the times. Like, I know for a fact that when I engage this, it puts me mentally, spiritually, emotionally in a place I don't want to be. Are there days that I would go kind of even willingly and touch that thing that I know is the source of my pain? Yes, there would happen. What is my response? It's like this. I have been basking in this beautiful light of mine. I've been letting it shine and all of this. But now I have plunged myself into this deep place of darkness. What am I going to do? Sit here and wallow? Continuously recycle the fact that I've been here? Or am I going to try to find that light again? Which I definitely know where it is. Because I know that it is when I get up and I do what I want to do. And I get up and I pick my bicycle and go out there cycling. And I get up and I sit down to say a prayer and be thankful and grateful. And I get up and I make a call to a friend and have a conversation about something that we both care about. That is where the light is. Am I going to lock myself and disconnect myself from all of these things that I know lead me towards where I want to go just because I have fallen? I can't do that. I can fall from this beautiful bandwagon I've been on and wallow in the mud, beat myself up, or I can pick myself up. I can dust myself off, and I can get back on that wagon that is going to where I want to go. And the only place I can do that is not yesterday when I failed, It's not tomorrow that is not yet here. It's today, it's now. And do I always do it? Sadly, no. Right? You see the problem? I don't always do it, even though I know I have written it down as a reminder, as a guide. I have jotted down the things that help me to get out from my darkness. Like I know them very well. For me, because everything for me comes down to writing. I know when I feel like, yes, this is the light. And I know when it feels like I am in such a dark place. And sometimes, sadly, you feel that you are in the dark place. And for some reason, which usually has a lot to do with guilt, it usually has a lot to deal with the fact that human beings, we have a sense of justice and a sense of paying for our mistakes. That sometimes when you do certain things, you wouldn't make your life better until you feel somehow that you have suffered enough. It is sad. It is pathetic, but we do it. You are muted.
It's kind of like you're trying to apply some kind of self-punishment when
Yes,
we sort of self-hate on ourselves, but it's
absolutely.
actually working against that. So when
Against
you
you.
sort of self-hate, it's sort of giving yourself permission and sort of self-forgiveness, as you say.
Yeah. Thank you. That's it. That's it. We tend to want to punish our wrongdoings. That's why I don't believe in the idea that somebody is judging me, because nobody can judge me better than I judge myself. Like, I find it weird when people say, don't judge me, because I'm thinking to myself, the very fact that you are saying, don't judge me, is because you have judged you.
Yourself.
And you have known that this particular thing, you, in the deepest part of you, you don't approve. And now when I just look at you, I haven't said anything. You think I've judged you because you judged you first. And there is nobody who can judge us better than us. Maybe only God, but no other human being. People can sound more critical when they talk about certain things you've done, but it doesn't mean that they judged you better. No, it just means that maybe they have put it in words that are really brutal.
No,
that you
and
don't want to hear.
it's true. It's it's part of this new world here, this woke world we are living in, where we are trying to sort of cuddle each other and babysit each other.
Yeah.
We don't want to be confronted with the truth. That's why, all these terms, don't judge me, I'm offended by what you said, all this, we call them puny. Because if you're true to yourself, you'd know that whatever somebody is telling you is that correct truth. He or she might be very brutal. I remember the other day I was actually sharing with someone an experience that I had with my bank. And, I wanted sort of a bit of that shock effect. I told them, I had a very terrible, terrible experience. And somebody, when they had me say that, they thought I was too harsh. But I wanted it to be harsh because definitely it was a very terrible experience that I had with this bank. And,
Yeah.
we all don't want to be confronted with the truth. The reality and truth should definitely be what guides us. And I
Yeah,
think you've put it very
absolutely.
well. Many a times when people come out with don't judge me, or you're judging me, or you're offending me with your words, they're just running away from reality. And
Well, if it really affects some people, like, then I would be surprised, because what I typically know about that phrase is that the reason why it feels like judgment, and if it feels like judgment, if it feels bad to you, is because you had somehow judged yourself as well. Because trust me, if you come today and Andrew, and you tell me, or let's say you see me with I don't know, or you come and accuse me of prostitution or something that I have no connection with, and will I feel bad about it? No. And if I did it and I was absolutely okay with it, will I really feel bad about it? Not really. The reason why it rubs the skin in a way that doesn't feel good is because, as far as you are concerned yourself, there is some level of guilt, there is some level of shame, there's some level of thing that makes you not to want that thing to see the light. And so when somebody brings it to the light, it hurts. It doesn't feel good, because except you are upset that this was a secret and I wanted it just to remain a secret, then that makes sense. But if your point is you are judging me, it doesn't hurt because I said it or because I judged you. The truth is you had judged yourself. And maybe I have come to make it even clearer to you that this was something, or I've just made it known that I know that this is something that you yourself are not comfortable with. And then you are like, yeah, don't judge me. I think so. At least that's something I believe in. And because I've never seen something that someone can bring to me and I feel like they are judging me better than I have judged myself. No, you can't judge me more critically than I judge myself. You can't judge me in a way that I'm like, I've never thought about that. Not really. I know myself very well. Everybody, this is the reason why we always put other people on a pedestal, right? Because we see the shiny exterior of everyone. That's all we see. We see what they advertise. We see what is open about other people. But we are so familiar with our deepest, most messy parts. We are so familiar with the dirtiest parts of ourselves. And so if you want to compare your whole personality, your whole person, with all that knowledge of the deepest and darkest parts of you from the day you are conscious up till death, with the shiny exterior of someone who has branded it in a book, in a story that they have well told about when they were 5 up till when they are 35. If you want to compare all that knowledge of yourself with that ideal perception of someone else, even if they talk about their struggles in the book, if you want to compare those two, you always measure below them. They will always be the better person. And you would always see how much your demons are still not conquered while other people have conquered theirs. You always see how much you have failed to conquer your addictions. And this guy is talking of addictions he had when he was 15, and now he's saying he is free. Because even though he is free, you don't know the depth of his darkness as far as he knows it. And maybe is he really free? We don't really know. That's what he has said in his book, by the way. And if you want to tell a story that makes people want to listen to, you always have to present the beginning of a struggle, some kind of, fairly smooth sailing, a plunge into the abyss, and a triumphant rise from that darkness.
The hero's, what do they call the hero's journey?
The hero's myth. All of us, we relate with that story because that is what we experience. We know that I am okay. And then I go down and ultimately I want to rise, victor, at the end of the day. That's why we resonate with those stories. So if you are going to write a book, definitely you are going to tell it like that if you want people to buy, because if it comes up till today and there is no rise from that darkness, yes, like,
and I guess because life is a continuous improvement exercise,
Thank you for saying that. Yes.
Because I think we never arrive. I think that's the key thing. And
We
I think
never arrive.
the whole thing should be about perspective. Are we better than we were yesterday?
Thank you.
And
Yes.
who are we comparing ourselves? I think that the standard of measure should always be ourselves and at which point of growth or development we are at.
Yeah.
Of course, if it is somebody like Tony Robbins, the struggles or problems he's contending with are very different from the troubles and issues he was contending with 20 or 30 years ago. Maybe trying to raise $1 million was a big deal. Now he's thinking of raising $1 billion. So it's a continuous growth. And